Hi there, this is Tom. I'm with the Zeitgeist movement here in Austria, and I just wanted to real quickly address this one thing that keeps coming up in discussions recently, very much on Facebook with so-called anarcho-capitalists and free market advocates and people of similar ideologies. And this thing that keeps coming up from their side is the economic calculation problem, as addressed famously by Ludwig von Mises, unfortunately a former countryman of mine here from Austria. Anyway, irrelevant. This calculation problem, which many of those free market advocates and some other people think is a problem that applies to the resource-based natural law economics model, which it really doesn't. And I'm just going to quickly explain why it doesn't apply to the RBE, as we call it. This calculation problem, the name already says it, it's about economic calculation. And in very short terms, what Mises and others have formulated and explained is that it's impossible to calculate or predict an economy, basically, because people's needs are chaotic, are unpredictable, and you can't just run a simulation in a computer or have people that calculate on paper or in whatever way the dynamic, chaotic needs of people. And I happen to actually wholeheartedly agree with that. Of course that's impossible, and it's simply not what a resource-based economy even claims to want to attempt, never has, never will. It's impossible to calculate dynamic, chaotic, spontaneous decisions of individuals. Of course, that is impossible. But that's not what an RBE is supposed to be. It was never meant to be an economic calculation or prediction of any individual need that is gonna happen in the future. No one ever said it was gonna be that. What an RBE is, will be, when and if it happens, is a resource management system. That means, in very short terms, it's basically a global network, very much like we have it today, of all the people and the institutions that produce things, that provide services, that get raw materials out of the earth or the forest or wherever they come from, refine them, deliver them to the producers of goods, and who produce out of those raw materials the goods they produce, and so on. This is the economy, basically, and a resource-based economy model simply means that this economy runs on information, but not information that is somewhere in a central computer or something, but on completely decentralized, networked, dynamic information, very much like we have it today in a market economy, in a free market economy, in a not free market economy. It's already there. Look at the market today, look at the economy today, whatever you want to call it. That information system, network, is already in place and is already working. Every time you go to a store and buy something, you don't just leave money, you also leave a bit of information, and that information is not exactly equal to the money you leave. You leave the information that you bought one bar of chocolate or whatever. The information isn't directly in the price you paid for that bar of chocolate, it's in the information that you took one bar of chocolate. That information minus one bar of chocolate goes into the inventory system of the store that you went to. that entire inventory system of the store manages this store centrally, actually, and whenever this inventory system tells whoever is responsible for ordering more chocolate at the store, or for ordering generally any other products in that store, that chocolate needs to be ordered, they order it from the chocolate delivery man, the chocolate producer, the chocolate factory, whatever. And that's how it works with everything. And the money, of course, it has a certain information today in that, well, that prices simply can tell you something about the demand. That much, of course, is true about the market, but you can just leave the prices out of the whole thing and just do it with the information that I just described. And that's part of what a resource-based economy is. This is how it's just not centrally planned, how it's not calculated or doesn't try to predict anything. It's dynamic, just like a market is. It's even more dynamic than a market is, because in a market economy, just imagine today you had the chaotic individual idea that you would love to have peach flavored chocolate with walnuts in it. I don't know. I would guess right now that there is no peach flavored chocolate with walnuts in it today. So what do you do in a market system? Do you have any feasible way of getting your peach flavored walnut chocolate? I don't know of any. I could write a letter to the chocolate manufacturer in my country or wherever the chocolate comes from. I don't think it would do much good. There would probably have to be like thousands of letters to get it made. And so how is the market really suited for adjusting itself to the chaotic individual spontaneous wants and needs of people? I don't see how it is. You have this very limited offering of products at the supermarket, and do you ever get something on the shelves that wasn't there before? No, it comes from the companies that invent new stuff and basically make up new needs for you. And when they did that, then you see an advertisement and you think, oh, that looks great, I want to try that. And then you suddenly have a spontaneous individual new need, which of course you didn't, because it was manufactured and created by the chocolate company or something. And in resource-based economy, if anything, it would be much more possible and much more feasible to get new products on the shelves, because, and that's where I come to the second part, because a resource-based economy also can and probably will have a direct feedback mechanism where consumers can send in their suggestions for new products or for changes in existing products. How do you change an existing product today? Something else that really... Can you do that in a market economy? I don't think I've ever been able to change an existing product. I mean, again, you get this small range of variations, and of course you can pick from them, and to some very pathetic degree you get to make changes there, like a very slow evolution whose mutations are really, I don't know, produced not randomly, but by the companies that produce the product. So they give you like 5 mutations of a Kindle, for example, and then you can pick one of these 5. Okay, then you tell the company, I like the Paperwhite with the backlighting. Okay, so they know people like Kindles with backlighting and Paperwhite, great. But what if I want a Kindle that is, I don't know, 2 times as big or 3 times as big as the one that exists already? Again, I can write an email to Amazon. They're gonna probably ignore me pretty much, but they're not gonna really take it into consideration that someone out there wants a 3 times as big Kindle as we have it today. Of course, a resource-based economy also cannot or probably won't be able to immediately react to it if one individual person wants a 3 times as big ebook reader suddenly. Maybe it will be able to through 3D printing and molecular rearrangement, blah blah blah. But let's just assume for now that we have just the same technologies as today. Then a resource-based economy is at least going to be not less flexible than a market, and very likely it's going to be more flexible, because again, in a resource-based economy, it's going to be very easy to make a feedback system from the producer of ebook readers. It's going to be basically like a website or whatever. You can go there, you can leave your feedback, your wishes for new products, and if the producer of that ebook reader simply sees, okay, there are a reasonable number of people, I don't know, 100 or 1,000 or whatever is going to be economically reasonable, then let's simply build a new machine that builds a Kindle that is, or an ebook reader that is 3 times as big. So once again, the resource-based economy is in no way going to be less flexible and dynamic to the individual, chaotic, spontaneous wishes of the people, of the consumers. Not at all less. It's, if anything, it's going to be more flexible and react quicker. Another thing I wanted to say about the quicker. In a market economy, there's so much that stands in the way of creating a new product for the consumer. I don't know, all the red tape, all the business decisions and the marketing decisions and all of that would stand in the way or slow down extremely and severely the introduction of a new product. In a resource-based economy, you wouldn't have any of that, because if the demand is there, and if it's sustainable, which is of course always the ceiling that we want to stay below in a resource-based economy, then it's simply going to be done and made. Nothing in the way of it, absolutely not. And the completely other point that I wanted to get to about the so-called calculation problem in an RBE is this this calculation problem makes some sense. It makes sense in the sense that, of course, no computer on Earth or in the whole galaxy or universe is probably ever gonna be able to predict or calculate that I, Tom, will tomorrow decide that I want the peach flavored walnut chocolate. Of course, that can't work. But when we're talking about economic calculation, then how about we just don't talk about these peaks that I just addressed in very much detail, but let's just talk about the regular, everyday, not too outlandish economy that's going on. And when this calculation problem was talked about by Mises and others, the thing is, technology just wasn't anywhere near where it's today. Do you think if you told Mises, okay, look, I have this little device, it's kind of originally my phone, but I can also use it to address a global to access a global network of information and video phone everyone in the world instantaneously without cost, without additional cost. I can use it to read books on it when I'm on page 53 here on my little handheld device, and later at home I want to switch to my other electronic book. It automatically also goes to page 53 where I left off on the other device. And my little phone is also a full HD camera. Not that Mises would have known what full HD means, but a camera that records in a resolution that is basically as high as cinema cameras. I can immediately show the videos I film on my little telephone to everyone else in the world. At what point do you think Mises would have told you, right, which institution was it that you escaped from today? Are you still like right out of your complete fucking mind? Technology has evolved, has changed so much. What Mises knew about calculation just simply doesn't apply anymore. And I'm not saying right now that a resource-based economy would have economic calculation as its basis. As I explained in the entire first and second act of this video, it wouldn't. It would be dynamic, decentralized, not calculating, not predicting, just resource managing system. But even if we tried today to have an economic calculation system, it would to a large degree probably work out pretty well, because calculating the daily needs and wants of of 7 billion people, 7 billion instances of a database is really not too big of a problem for a computer today. And it definitely won't be in like 2 or 3 decades from now, with quantum computing just around the corner and all of that. So again, these spikes, these completely outlandish, out of the blue, spontaneous, crazy ideas, of course no computer can calculate that, not in a resource-based economy, and the market also cannot handle that, not at all. If 1 million people decided tomorrow in my country here in Austria that they want to buy a regular existing bar of hazelnut chocolate, do you think the market could handle that? Do you think a free market would have any fucking idea what to do with that? No, the hazelnut chocolate would be gone. Only like, no idea, like 100,000 people would get a bar and the other 900,000 wouldn't have it, and the market would take weeks, months probably to catch up with that demand. So how can the market handle that? The resource-based economy can't handle it either. It's impossible. When there's a running economy and suddenly, which won't happen anyway, but just assuming suddenly 1 million people out of the blue completely change their needs or their wants or their demands or their desires, no economy can handle that unless you have Star Trek replicators in every home that replicate anything that you want within 5 seconds that you thought of it. Yes, then. But then again, both economies can do it. Then the market economy can do it just as well as a resource-based economy can do it. So there's just no advantage to a market economy in that way. And yeah, like I said, even if a resource-based economy were attempting to do economic calculation, then it would succeed to a much greater degree than Mises could ever have known, simply because of technology, because of computing power, and because also one important factor, let's be honest, yes, we all think we're so damn individual, but look at people today. How individual are they, really? And how individual do they want to be? We all have our little different various combinations of tastes, but there's just so many tastes, flavors of chocolate that taste good, and just so many flavors of ice cream that taste good, and there's just so many kinds of fruits in existence, and just so many kinds of vegetables in existence. And yes, you can combine that. Everyone can form a probably completely individual combination of all of these factors, but an economic calculation system wouldn't have to calculate everyone's individual combination of factors. That's not necessary. It just needs to calculate, okay, the population needs that many apples, that many pears, and that many bananas, and that many cucumbers and peppers, and in which exact way the people form their individual combinations of those things is up to the people and will always be. But when you have data about a society, about an economy, then of course there may be small fluctuations, but on the whole it's a pretty undynamic matter, I would say, because it just equals itself out. If one person suddenly decides not to eat any cucumbers anymore, then somewhere in the world another person decides to suddenly start eating cucumbers. And like I said, if 10 million people suddenly from one day to the next don't want to eat any more cucumbers, well, all the cucumbers are gonna rot on the shelves, and that is gonna happen in a market economy and in a resource-based economy all the same. But yeah, like I said, to a very large degree we could have computers help us even make predictions, even we don't need them in a resource-based economy. We could basically just have a computer simulation of the economy running in the background just to see if it's correct or not, and it could learn all the time from the real-time dynamic market-like direct consumer feedback system that is the actual resource-based economy. And yeah, we could have the calculation just out of interest running in the background, and just to see, okay, how good can we already calculate it, and could we even calculate it if we wanted to. And this simulation could be refined every day. It could learn from, like I said, from what's happening every day. Of course, be dynamic by season and whatever, but we just don't need it. So to get back to the entire point of this video, the economic calculation problem simply doesn't apply to a resource-based economy, because the RBE doesn't want to calculate, doesn't want to predict anything in the economy. It's not a planning economy that attempts or even claims to want to plan anything in advance. Not in not any more than a market does. I mean, a market also plans. Every little element in a market, which is every little shop and producer and deliverer and manufacturer and refinery, they all plan for themselves. Obviously they do. They all have their data from many years and decades of previous experience. They all use that to plan, and wow, imagine that, it works. It actually works for them. What about that? Even though it's planning, it works. Unbelievable. They all do it. They all know, well, in winter, people are gonna buy more of that than in summer, or the other way around, or January is just gonna be very high for us selling whatever, wool socks or skiing equipment or something. Of course they can plan that. They do it and it works perfectly. And that planning is obviously also gonna be there in a resource-based economy, but it's not gonna be one huge Skynet computer standing somewhere, I don't know, in the desert of Arizona or no idea where, planning all of that and sending out its robot servants to... come on, that's all such bullshit. It's a regular economic system. It's not that much different from what it is today. What is really different about it is that we don't limit what is there and what could be done with this artificial ceiling of what is affordable and what is profitable. We simply dissolve this ceiling, and the only ceiling that is important for us is sustainability. And as long as every element in a resource-based economy simply tries and attempts for itself to remain sustainable, then the whole system is also going to be sustainable. And that is basically the goal. That is the difference to a market economy, because in a market economy the ceiling is, I mean, it's for some it's way above sustainability, for some it's way below sustainability. Some could have more, consume much more than would be sustainable, but they can't because they don't have the money. Others shouldn't consume as much as they do, but they can, and they simply do because they can afford it, even though it's anything but sustainable. That's a market economy for you, and simply doesn't make any sense. So I hope I made this point clear somehow in my, I'm sorry, spontaneous rambling here. I'll just repeat it once more shortly to sum it all up. Once again, calculation problem does not apply to resource-based economy. Resource-based economy does not want to calculate the economy the way that Mises said is impossible. It doesn't want to do that. It wants to manage it in real time, sustainably, dynamically, even individually when technology allows it with 3D printing and all of that fun stuff. But it doesn't want to say there's a computer or there are people who can calculate for 5 or 10 years into the future what people will want. No one ever said that's what an RBE is supposed to be, and it's not supposed to be because no one wants that. It wouldn't work well, it's pointless, it's, I don't know, useless. Why would anyone want to do that? We know, we RBE supporters know as much as anyone else that we want to be dynamic, we want to be spontaneous, and that's exactly what a resource-based economy is there to give us, because in a market economy it's not there. We don't have this freedom, we don't have this individuality, we don't have this spontaneity. It's just all not there because everything is limited by profit and by money and by competition and by artificial scarcity. Most of all, it's limited, because I just had this discussion an hour ago on Facebook about what is it called? About digitally copying stuff, about intellectual property, right? The ultimate stupidity of a market economy. Someone creates a digital piece of art or of design or of work or anything, and others can't have it without paying the one who made it, even though the copying takes nothing away from the one who made it. I mean, how retarded is that? It can really only be explained by a contrived, made-up rule that there's something like intellectual property, just as a made-up law that allows people to have profit again. But when I made something like a piece of music or a movie, and it's there available digitally for everyone, then if 1 billion people copy it, none of that takes anything away from me. I've created it already. It's there, and yeah, this artificial scarcity of just saying, no, you can only have it if you have the money for it, and if you just happen to be someone who isn't doing that well in the economy, and you need all of your monthly budget for the rent and for food and clothes and for your kids to just feed them and maybe buy them a few toys, then you just don't have the right to have a digital copy of the movie or the piece of music I made. I mean, how sick is that? It's just, yeah, like I said, it's artificial scarcity, and it's one of the things that just holds us back and is so completely idiotic about a market economy. But it's needed in a market economy. Of course, I understand why it's needed today, but there's no real need for it once this market profit scarcity competition bullshit system is gone. So yeah, got in all kinds of directions here, but should I get back to the point one more time, just so that everyone, every last one, understands it? There's no problem with the economic calculation problem in a resource-based economy. I'm repeating myself very much here, but some people need that. So no calculation, no even idea or attempt to predict or calculate anything in a resource-based economy. We don't need it, we don't want it, we realize it would probably not even work too well. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but resource-based economy just isn't economic calculation. It isn't, it was never supposed to be. It's dynamic, it's like a market, just without money, just without all the market mechanisms, because we can share, especially information, freely. We can share resources, we don't have to work against each other, we can work with each other to create together simply everything that everyone wants, and we don't have to do everything 100 times because company A does it and then doesn't share its information with company B, and so company B does have to do the same thing over that company A has already done, just to come to the same result or a similar result, just so they can both compete in the same market. All this inefficiency gone, but once again, I guess for the last time, no calculation, no problem with Mr. Mises, my Austrian friend. And please try to remember that no calculation problem in a resource-based economy. No calculation problem in a resource-based economy, because there's no calculation there. It's just a resource management system. It's a dynamic, market-like economic system without central computers, without economic calculation, without any of that bullshit. Okay? Got it? No calculation problem?